Hey guys, so I'm driving back home from Southern California after my first Drift 101 school with Naoki Kobayashi. It was at Willow Springs International Raceway in Rosamond, California. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've learned because there are so many parallels between the art and science of drifting a car and Olympic weightlifting. Now, some of you who may have followed me on any kind of social media or just know about what the goings on in my life are, you can kind of pick up on the trend that I'm doing a lot of what would be seemingly dangerous and out of control things, but what we're really doing is I'm exploring the mindset that it takes to be successful, not in the sense where you're rich and you're powerful and you have all this clout in the world, but really when you put your mind to something, how do you not let your mind work against you when adrenaline and your physical body comes into play? Now, I had a partner on my second day. Her name is Amelia Hartford, and she actually turned me on to the idea of vlogging and kind of documenting my thoughts and how the future of how we're sharing information is going to end up in video format. So she asked me, what am I selling? And I thought to myself, well, that's a great question. I provide emotional intelligence and support for my clients and fitness, and I just let my unicorn behaviors really kind of just go free. But really, I think what I'm selling is a usable open source method of doing things that you're scared of in a systematic way that isn't going to freak you out or get you into really bad situations, but how can you learn and have fun using adrenaline and using your nerves and things that would seemingly be dangerous to be a benefit to you? Because one of the pieces of drifting that Naoki tried to explain to me is that we're taught to drive cars in a very controlled fashion when we're driving on the streets, and we're learning a whole brand new skill set when we're out on an open track and there are no stop signs and there's no limit to where the car can go. And so you have to create a new neural pathway or a map for your body to basically slide this 2,000-pound machine in unison with yourself using physics rather than fighting it. And so the same principles apply in Olympic weightlifting, I would say. For those of you who are not familiar with Olympic style weightlifting, it's the snatch and clean and jerk. It's the fast movement of a barbell, and bench, squat, and deadlift are moves that we do, but that's its own sport called powerlifting. And bodybuilders still use barbell training, but they use it more for the growth of muscle rather than performance and speed. So in Olympic weightlifting, we're really concerned with reaction time and direction change. But also, there are moments inside of a snatch and clean and jerk that are really actually slow. And although the movement seems fast and bursts and, it's dazzling, same thing with the drift, there are moments where you actually have a lot of time to let physics do its job. So let me give you an example. When I learned for my first drill how to do a donut. So a lot of people who kind of got into drifting early on kind of just did it in parking lots, or they would practice with donuts. So that was the first drill that I learned, is to how to perfect a donut to spin around a cone with control, because he would tell me that everything is affected by the start, and that's the same thing with Olympic weightlifting too. If you start a good lift, you're most likely going to end up in really good positions that make it look smooth and fluid. And the same thing can be said about drifting in a donut. So he had me go both directions, and it was actually quite tough for me to go in a right-hand clockwise donut. And so once I started to understand to not try to control the car so much as let the physics of the engine do what it needs to do by spinning the wheels just enough. If you watch some of my other videos, I'll try to put some clips in of me actually doing bad drifts and somewhat successful drifts in first and second gear. I didn't really get to do any high-speed drifts, but I did e-brake maneuvers where I would just drive into a turn and then I would, turn left and then pull the e-brake and my car would flip 180 like in a stunt or a vehicle or a movie. Because actually on on the second day, we did have a father and daughter pair who were stunt drivers for the Fast and the Furious. So it was kind of cool to just see them in action and also see the dynamics, and I got to ride in the car too. So yeah, the interesting part is you're really learning how to take something that can be broken down scientifically, but you have to apply it with instinct. So what I'm really trying to get at is that instinct is something that we don't support and repress almost in our culture, because instinct is something that allows us to really go too far or not go far enough if we think too much. If we get into our brain, I won't initiate a drift because I'm actually sliding the car out of control. And also it helps to learn how to drive stick shift before you attempt any of these maneuvers. And this is in a controlled setting with an expert. I don't recommend doing this in the street. I recommend going and getting actual lessons, not from a fellow peer who is your same age and same level, because then it turns into a pissing contest. That's my guess, because guys who learn how to weightlift early on and they're young and they support each other, but they challenge each other a little too much rather than focusing on the basics. They want to find the fastest way to get to the most weight lifted. So same thing, I watched several up and coming professional drifters practicing on my second day, and they had some of the basics down. Some of them had them down pat, some of them didn't. And Naoki was sitting with me and just explaining why it was so important for me to not only pay attention to the most basic movements such as a donut and a figure eight, but how to be patient in certain types of drifting situations where I would want to maneuver and death grip the steering wheel and turn the car. And those are actually the moments where I should be letting go of my hands and just controlling the car using the gas pedal. So going back to fitness, we each have our own body, and I would call that my own vehicle. And when we're walking about in daily life, we're just using it in a way that like we're driving cars on the road. But when you get into fitness, it's a whole brand new pattern of moving in 3D space. So I would like to liken drifting to sitting in an office chair and just spinning around things. Learn the dynamics of that. And also when you're in your own body, do things like just moving around, putzing around, fidgeting, because I think that is actually our instinct trying to let us know something when we sit still in a room. If we're sitting in a chair and our body is really just fidgeting, I think that's telling us to move around in space. And I think those are one of the instinctual drives that babies have when they first are born. They really want to explore 3D space, but they also want to feel safe. So that's why having an instructor or somebody who is giving you some guidance is helpful. But if you're on your own, there are really principles you can use, and that's really what I'm about, is if I'm going to take this out and do it myself, what mindset principles do I need to still keep in mind? And I would say positive self-talk. Whenever I fucked up a drift, Naoki would tell me, okay, just think of a refresh. Do not think about the last thing you did. Think about what you want to do next. And if you don't feel that it's in a good rhythm, stop the car and restart the drill. So I did donuts for several hours, and I found that if I got burnt out, I had to stop. So take short bursts and positive self-talk about what you want to do, either in lifting or in drifting, and also have fun. Instinct leads to fun. Thinking leads to better planning when you're not in the situation. In the moment, have fun, make mistakes. Do it in a controlled environment where you're not going to hurt or jeopardize other people. So the takeaways of today: instinct leads to fun, positive self-talk, and really just stick with the basics. Stick with the basics. So hopefully you enjoyed that and that was useful. Stay tuned, and I'll have some more updates on actual drift footage. Thanks, guys.